League and the ratings are an embarrassment. They're a statement about how little interest there actually is in women's basketball beyond Caitlin Clark. The fact that they can't reach a CBA agreement and be confident that there's actually going to be a 2026 season of the WNBA because these idiots, Angel Reese and the rest, are like, oh man, if y'all not paying us $1 million, $2 million a season.
Those ratings aren't just bad. They're a total disaster. The numbers are so low it's embarrassing, and they reveal a brutal truth the WNBA powers don't want to face. Without Caitlin Clark, nobody's tuning in. It's like the spotlight vanished the second she stepped off the court, and now the whole league's struggling to stay relevant. But it gets even crazier. The same players who rode her wave to fame and fatter paychecks are now threatening to wreck the entire 2026 season. Why? Because they think they should be getting NBA-level money while playing in half-empty arenas. Can you believe that? They want superstar checks for crowds that can barely fill a local gym. Let's get real for a second. The league actually offered them 7-figure deals. 7 figures for just 40 games a year in a league that's been bleeding money for seasons. And their response? Not good enough. No compromise, no talks, just a hard, we're not budging. Now the whole season's hanging by a thread. And here's where things really start to smell shady. The person leading these negotiations isn't just some random union rep. It's Nafisa Collier, whose husband runs Unrivaled, a league that's literally competing with the WNBA. She's calling the shots on the collective bargaining for one league while being tied to another that wants to take it down.
Nope, not good enough. We're not budging. We're not negotiating. The entire season is up for grabs. And here's how they got there. This group of women, delusional, allowed Nafisa Collier, whose husband and her and Breanna Stewart have started a rival league to the WNBA. They've allowed them to be the leaders of their negotiation for a new CBA agreement, collective bargaining agreement.
That's wild. And she's not alone. Her business partner, Breanna Stewart, is right there beside her, pulling strings. These two helped start a rival league, and now they're negotiating the WNBA's future? That's not just messy. It's a full-blown conflict of interest. That'd be like Adam Silver letting LeBron James negotiate the NBA's entire collective bargaining agreement while LeBron's out here launching his own rival basketball league at the same time. That's not just a conflict of interest. That's straight-up sabotage disguised as player empowerment. And the wildest part, the rest of the players are just nodding along like it's normal.
Women, delusional, allowed Nafisa Collier, whose husband and her and Breanna Stewart have started a rival league to the WNBA. They've allowed them to be the leaders of their negotiation for a new CBA agreement, collective bargaining agreement in the WNBA. People that have started a competitor to the WNBA are leading the negotiations for a new WNBA contract. This is insanity and retardation that we have never.
This is Nafisa Collier's big moment. Her chance to prove she's got the vision to reshape the WNBA and take a public swing at Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. So what's her massive critique? That Engelbert doesn't personally call players when they get injured. Seriously? That's the leadership failure that supposedly justifies burning down the league? It's almost laughable. Meanwhile, Collier's husband, yeah, the same guy running a competing league that pulled barely 30,000 viewers for its championship game, is suddenly being hyped up as some kind of sports visionary just because he sends out a few congrats text messages. Come on, that's not leadership. That's PR spin dressed as progress. What we're watching isn't about accountability. It's feelings over facts, emotion over economics. And that's exactly why women's leagues keep tripping over their own hype.
Let's replay Nafisa Collier when she was talking tough and everybody's applauding her. You go, girl, Kathy Engelbert. They're not paying you guys what you're worth, and we're not paying Caitlin Clark what she's worth. Play
the league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them. I have the privilege of watching my husband run a league where he has to balance 100 different things at once. I won't pretend the job is easy, but even with all of that on his plate, he always takes the time to reach out to players when he sees an injury, whether it's Unrivaled or even during the WNBA season. That is what leadership looks like. It's the human element. It's basic integrity, and it's the bare minimum any leader should embody.
Here's the harsh reality check. Rookie players making around $70,000 for a 4-month job right out of college isn't oppression. It's a blessing. That's not exploitation, and it's definitely not proof of some systemic bias holding anyone back. For most college grads in this country, that kind of salary would be a dream start. These athletes are literally getting paid to hoop in a league that loses millions every single year. And don't get it twisted. Comparing it to the NBA is pure nonsense. NBA rookies make millions because that league brings in billions. The WNBA, on the other hand, runs on financial life support. It survives off the NBA's funding. So every check these players cash, it's not from profits, it's from charity. Whether they want to admit it or not, the WNBA exists because the NBA keeps bailing it out. Back when newspapers were making real money, reporters were getting $5 an hour, and the business still turned a profit. Meanwhile, the WNBA is losing millions every single year while paying rookies around $75,000 for just 4 months of work.
Built for this type of leadership. It's all feelings over facts. It's there's no logic here. Hey, just pay us what we want. I don't want to hear about paying us what's sustainable. Just pay us what we want. We feel like we're owed this amount of money. And we've convinced America that 23 and 24-year-old women coming out of college, that paying them $70,000, $80,000 a year for a 4-month job is.
And that's not even counting the free housing, travel perks, and full benefits. Let's be real. Only one of these situations could ever be called exploitation, and it's definitely not the one involving charter flights and luxury hotels. What's happening now is wild. These players have somehow convinced themselves that a league losing money on their behalf is a form of injustice. And that's where this new wave of so-called feminist equality thinking completely derails. Because once you start preaching that women deserve the same pay no matter how much revenue or audience they actually generate, you're no longer dealing in facts. You're living in fantasy. When emotion and entitlement replace logic and economics, there's no business left to build on. Only dreams that collapse under their own weight. Now, to be fair, Nafisa Collier isn't wrong about everything. She's got game, she's got class, and she's had a strong career built off hard work and talent.
Oh, well, you should have been a basketball player. Or these women are great basketball players, and they deserve more than that. No, they don't. I went into a profession that at the time, sports journalism, the newspaper industry, that was turning a profit. And they paid me $5 an hour. And I didn't complain. I thanked them. But the Bloomington Herald-Times was turning a profit. The WNBA loses millions of dollars a year. And I got a 4-month job that pays me $75,000. I'm undervalued. I'm underappreciated. I've been mistreated.
But her circle, they're hyping her worst takes instead of grounding her in reality. Nobody around her saying, hey, maybe the math doesn't add up. And that's dangerous because she's now leading the negotiation that could actually destroy the very league that made her a star in the first place. Here's the real twist. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert actually does deserve some blame, but not for the reasons Collier throws around. Engelbert's real failure isn't that she's not sending enough get-well-soon cards. It's that she's been too scared to confront the truth. By pretending the WNBA's financial mess isn't real, she's helped feed this entire delusional narrative that the league's on the same level as the NBA.
But she's nuts. And she's surrounded by other nuts that are confirming her nuttiness. She's gonna sit here and preach. And again, I'm not a big defender of Kathy Engelbert because she's a nut too. But sitting there holding a press conference scolding them because your husband is the president of the unrivaled league and he's now smarter than her. and he knows more about what to do than her. Are you kidding me? It's crazy.
That silence from the top has turned denial into policy. And for fans like me, that's where it hits hard. Caitlin Clark had the perfect chance to be the voice of reason this season, to speak up and say what everyone's thinking, to say, these demands don't make sense, the league can't afford it, be grateful for the insane investment being made right now, but instead, nothing. Total silence. And that silence might just cost the league everything. She's just going along with the chaos. Instead of stepping up, Caitlin Clark's letting Nafisa Collier and Angel Reese steer the whole conversation straight off a cliff. And she's staying silent while it happens. At some point, that silence stops being neutral and turns into complicity. And honestly, it's getting harder and harder to defend someone who won't even stand up for the league that's literally paying her checks. Now we're seeing the predictable next move, a flashy new ad featuring Megan Rapinoe and the ACLU, pushing the message about letting transgender athletes compete in women's sports. The theme? Be whoever you want to be. Define yourself. No limits. It's the same emotional pitch we've been hearing, but it's all part of one bigger idea. The same belief that feelings can rewrite facts, that personal identity can override biology, and that reality itself should bend to fit whatever story someone wants to tell. It's all connected, and it's all built on the same shaky logic. Because once you start building a system where emotions matter more than evidence and where identity gets prioritized over performance, the foundation starts cracking fast.
It's made me just like, I don't really care about Caitlin Clark anymore, because she's halfway crazy for not coming on air somewhere and saying the things that I'm saying. Hey man, y'all crazy. We better take this contract they offered us and be thankful, because it's all, from the private flights to the salaries we're getting paid, it's all charity. It's all welfare. And let's be appreciative. And then once we start making real money, then we'll go for the stupid superstar contracts like the NBA players have. But we're not there yet.
When ideology trumps economics, you're not running a business. You're building a sandcastle at high tide. Sooner or later, the waves are gonna wash it all away. And that's what makes this moment so heartbreaking. The WNBA had a golden ticket this season. Caitlin Clark brought in levels of attention the league had never seen before. Record-breaking ratings, sold-out arenas, headlines everywhere. She was a walking spotlight that could have pushed the WNBA into a new era of relevance and stability. The league could have used that wave to build something strong, something real, something that could finally grow beyond charity support. But instead of locking in and capitalizing on that momentum, they've drifted right back into distraction and division. What could have been the league's turning point is turning into its undoing. Instead of building on their once-in-a-lifetime moment, they completely blew it. They let jealous players tear down their biggest star instead of celebrating her. They stood by while race-based drama hijacked the conversation. They even allowed union leaders with massive conflicts of interest to wreck critical negotiations. And now, they're staring down a possible work stoppage that could straight up end the WNBA for good. Here's what these players don't seem to get. Fan loyalty in women's basketball is fragile. It's not like the NBA, where support gets passed down from father to son, generation to generation. The WNBA doesn't have that cultural backbone. People tuned in this year for Caitlin Clark, period. Not the league, not the teams, her. And if there's no 2026 season, those new casual fans, they're gone.
This is all playing off of how, the people within the Wall Street or whatever, they caused the collapse that damaged all of us and cost all of us. It cost me a lot of money. I lost so much money on the house I had in Kansas City. Anyway. But here's Megan Rapinoe in her latest commercial, begging for LeBron James to come over and play basketball in the WNBA and for Messi to come play soccer against her. But anyway, play the clip.
When you're young, you believe that you can do anything. And then the world tries to set limits for you.
Tell you what's allowed,
What's normal.
who you're supposed to be.
But on the field, the track, the court, here, you get to be exactly who you are.
Because at our core, we're still the kids who just want to play.
The Go Big game changers.
The living, breathing fabric of this country.
Supporting trans youth isn't just about sports.
It's about freedom.
On and off the field. It's more than a game.
Megan Rapinoe has teamed up with the ACLU to promote the whole transgender deal. And if you listen to that commercial, and for those...
They'll move on to the next big thing without a second thought, leaving the WNBA right back where it started. Small crowds, small budgets, and no spotlight. You don't have to take my word for it. Just look at the unrivaled league's numbers. Their so-called championship game, featuring what they claim are the biggest names in women's basketball, pulled in barely 30,000 viewers. That's not a TV audience, that's a rounding error. It's proof that without the WNBA's platform, marketing, and infrastructure, most of these players don't have real star power. The brand built them, not the other way around. And yet, Napheesa Collier, the same person whose husband runs that low viewership league, is the one leading negotiations for the WNBA's future. That's wild. She's demanding paychecks that would require the league to multiply its viewership by 10 times just to make sense financially. On top of that, she's threatening to shut down the entire 2026 season if her crew doesn't get their way. And somehow, some of the other players are calling that leadership. This isn't strength, it's reckless. It's what happens when you replace business sense with buzzwords, when empowerment becomes more important than economics. The WNBA had momentum, attention, and a real shot at growth, but they traded it all for ego and empty slogans. When you start believing that demanding more money automatically means you deserve more money, you lose touch with reality fast. When you confuse confidence for competence and mistake shouting the loudest for being right, the truth gets buried under ego. That whole $5 an hour comparison wasn't meant to downplay anyone's value. It was about understanding how markets actually work. Back when newspapers paid low wages, the business still made a profit. The pay might have been unfair, sure, but it was sustainable. Now flip that around. The WNBA pays far higher salaries, rookie contracts hitting $75,000 for just a few months of work, yet the league bleeds money every single year. That's not sustainability, that's a slow-motion collapse. One model can last forever because it runs on profit. The other, it's running on fumes. And pointing that out isn't sexist, it's just math. It's the same logic you'd apply to any business. Tech, retail, entertainment, whatever. If your costs keep outrunning your revenue, you got exactly 3 choices. Cut costs, increase revenue, or shut down. There's no magical fourth option where you just lose money forever because employees feel undervalued. The NBA has been keeping the WNBA alive for years, out of goodwill and a genuine desire to help women's basketball grow. But let's be honest, that generosity doesn't last forever.
Again, they want to decide things that God has decided. It's not about you. And so if you're a Christian or if you have a brain, you consult the maker, the owner, the creator. You let him define you. But this whole movement is about, I get to define. I'm my own God. Yes, I have a vagina and a clitoris, but I get to decide I should really have a bat and balls, and I'm going to have someone sew one on me so that I can run around and pretend to be a man, or I can run around and pretend to be a woman. And you wonder why things around them are collapsing? They think they're the makers. They think they're the creators. They think they're their own gods. And that's why everything that they build collapses. And that's why women's sports are going to collapse, because the delusion of women, the whole feelings over facts and logic.
If the WNBA players push this too far, if they go through with a strike and prove that no amount of support will ever satisfy them, the NBA could simply walk away. And if that happens, the league's done. No funding, no safety net, no future. It's brutal, but it's reality. So WNBA players need to ask themselves, is this really the hill you want to die on? Is Napheesa Collier's frustration about who calls who on the phone really worth gambling the entire league's existence? Are Angel Reese's demands for $2 million a season to play in front of maybe 5,000 fans really more important than keeping the league alive? Because the unrivaled league's numbers already gave us the answer. They barely pulled 30,000 viewers for a title game. Without the WNBA's backing, most of these players don't have a platform, an audience, or even leverage. They're not NBA superstars who can just launch a new league and pull millions of viewers overnight. They're betting everything on emotion instead of economics. And if that gamble fails, the league that made them stars could vanish for good. They're niche athletes in a niche sport, and that's not an insult, that's just the truth. Most Americans don't watch women's basketball, and most don't really care about it beyond a few big names. That's not cruelty, it's reality. And that reality calls for humility, gratitude, and smart business sense, not entitlement, resentment, and self-sabotage. The WNBA gave these players a platform that wouldn't even exist in a completely free market. The least they could do is protect it instead of tearing it down from the inside, but they won't. Because actually, listening would mean admitting they were wrong. And admitting they were wrong would mean letting go of the victim narrative that tells them they're owed anything they demand just because they demand it. So instead, they'll double down. They'll keep pushing, keep threatening, and keep letting people with glaring conflicts of interest lead their negotiations, even if it sends the whole league off the edge. And when that collapse finally hits, they won't take the blame. They'll point fingers everywhere else, at the commissioner, at the media, at the fans, anyone but themselves. So what do you think? Are the WNBA players right to hold out for higher salaries? Or are they destroying the very opportunity that made them stars in the first place? Are they protecting the game or killing the golden goose? And to drop your thoughts in the comments, I want to hear what you think. And don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this. Because honestly, looking at how things are going, I'm not even sure we'll have a 2026 WNBA season to talk about. It's looking rough out there. And right now, I wouldn't bet a dime on the league surviving this chaos.